You want to train combat sports and you want to lift weights, but you don't know how to balance them. Well, in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how you can do that so you not only look like you can fight, but more importantly, you can actually fight as well. If you're struggling with soreness during your combat sports sessions from your lifting workouts, or you feel like you can't hold on to any gains from all the cardio your sport involves, then this video is for you. I'm going to explain exactly how to structure your week, how to structure your weight training, how to eat, how to recover, so you can get stronger and get better at your sport without feeling constantly sore and beat up. Now, I know I'm the nutrition guy, so I am going to cover how to eat, how to sleep, and recover from both your weights and your combat sports sessions. But before I do that, you need to know how to structure your training week and what these training sessions should look like. So, how to structure your week. You're going to have 2 to 3 weight sessions per week, and then you're going to plug the remaining gaps with combat sports sessions. If your sport is your priority, then you're going to do 2 full body weight sessions per week. And that'll be relevant for most people, especially if you're a competitive amateur or pro fighter. However, if muscle gain is your priority, then you're going to increase that to 3 full body weight sessions per week, which is going to be a little bit more conducive towards muscle gain. Just a quick note on muscle versus weight gain. Unless you're completely new to lifting or returning to lifting after a period off, then muscle gain is weight gain. You can't recomp yourself to being hugely jacked and incredibly shredded lean as well. And what about full body versus bro splits? You'll notice that I said full body workouts per week. In my opinion, fighters shouldn't really be using bro splits or body part splits like push-pull legs or having an arm day or a leg day. One, because you want to get the most out of your weight training time, and that means hitting multiple muscle groups per session. But second, and mainly DOMS or delayed onset muscle soreness. If you do a leg day and then the next day you've got sparring, you're going to be so sore and you're probably just going to have a rubbish session. You're better off splitting that volume over 2 or 3 full body sessions per week. Unless muscle growth is a huge priority and you don't mind being really sore for training, but you're probably watching this video because you want to lift weights and perform well in your combat sports sessions. So let's take a look at 2 examples of how you could structure your week. A once daily training schedule could look like this. You have 2 weight sessions per week, and then you plug the remaining spaces with 3 or 4 combat sports sessions, depending on if you want 1 or 2 rest days per week. Now, for a twice daily training schedule, I'd recommend 2 weight sessions in the mornings, and then plug the remaining gaps with combat sports sessions, or maybe conditioning sessions as well, like running or sprinting, for example, as you see fit. Now, what I personally do is a kind of hybrid approach. I will do a combat sports, well, for me, it's a Muay Thai session once per day, every day, or well, 6 days per week. And then I'll have 2 mornings of strength training, and I do that year round. Once I have a fight booked, I will then plug those remaining morning sessions with Muay Thai sessions. So for me, without a fight booked, just year-round training, I'll do 6 Muay Thai sessions, so every afternoon, and then 2 weight sessions, so a total of 8 sessions per week. And then once the fight is booked, I will plug those remaining 4 days in the morning with Muay Thai sessions for 12 weekly sessions. So now you know how to structure your week, but what should you actually do in these weight training sessions? Up front, I have to give credit to this book. It's called The Combat Sports Strength and Conditioning Manual, written by Will Morrill. And it's just a really great minimalist approach to combat sports weight training. There's absolutely no fluff in there. And also a combination of that and Don Heatrick, who I've worked with personally for multiple years. He really is the GOAT when it comes to Muay Thai strength and conditioning. So my knowledge is basically a combination of what I learned from both of those. Now, for strength and power gain with a view to improving combat sports performance, you want to structure your weight sessions like this, and this is taken and slightly modified from the book that I just mentioned. As a quick note, this would be for a general preparation phase or more of a year-round strength and power program. Things would need to be tweaked in those last 4 or so weeks before a fight to convert the strength and power into speed and to truly peak for the fight, but that's a topic for another video. The session will be structured like this. So day 1, the first superset will be a power hinge movement paired with an ancillary exercise. Now, this will typically be used to address flexibility or mobility issues, or maybe rehab an injured area, or increase an injury-prone area of strength. So this will typically address somewhere like hips, neck, wrist, spine, shoulders, ankles, abs, or some other injury-prone area for you. And this basically means that instead of just doing your exercise and then just resting, scrolling through Instagram or whatever, you're making use of that time as a kind of active rest period to address areas that aren't normally addressed by the big compound movements, for example. And so you would pair that power hinge exercise with the ancillary exercise, and you would repeat that 3 sets over. That's your first superset done. Now, the second superset will pair a strength hinge movement with another ancillary stretch or supporting exercise. And then the final superset, so you would do 3 sets through from superset A, 3 sets through from superset B, and then finally superset C will pair a vertical press exercise with a vertical pulling exercise, and then again an ancillary exercise or stretch during that kind of active rest period. Day 2 will very much follow the same basic template structure as day 1, except you'll be doing a power squat exercise instead of a power hinge. The second superset will be a strength squat exercise, and the final superset will be horizontal, so a horizontal press paired with a horizontal pulling exercise. And here's an example of how your strength training sessions could look like, including some example exercises. So this would be a great starting point. Feel free to just take a screenshot of that and use that as your own starting point if you want to. If muscle gain was more of a priority goal for you, then there are a couple of tweaks we can make to increase the volume and make this template a little bit more conducive to hypertrophy or muscle gain. So number 1 is you're going to add 1 extra set for those strength exercises, taking it from 3 to 4 sets for those. And that would also be taking the ancillary exercises from 3 to 4 as well. 2, you're going to increase the reps to 8 to 12 where needed. Now, increasing the sets and the reps is going to increase the volume, and that's going to make this template a little bit more conducive towards muscle gain. Importantly, keep the power exercises the same, don't mess with them. Third and finally, you're going to add in 1 extra strength session per week in a ABA, BAB structure. So week 1 would be day 1, day 2, and then back to day 1 for the third session that week. Then week 2 would be day 2, day 1, and then you'd repeat day 2 again, and you just alternate that. So a tweaked version of this initial template to support muscle gain would look something like this: 3 sessions per week and 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps for the strength exercises, which are the B and C supersets. So you know how to structure your week and how to structure your weight training sessions. What about how to eat? Step 1 is setting your calorie intake. Now, depending on whether your primary goal is leaning up, maximizing performance, or increasing muscle, that's going to dictate where your calorie targets are set in relation to your maintenance needs. Realistically, you could use any online calculator, but here's a quick and easy version that you can do right now. Step 1 is to calculate your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate. These are the calories you burn just to keep the lights on, basically. Keep your heart beating, keep your lungs breathing, just basic bodily functions. And a quick and easy estimate of that would be your body weight in kilograms times 22 if you are female, or your body weight in kilograms times 24 if you are a male. Step 2, we need to add on your activity onto this. So you would multiply this number by 1.3 if you were resting, basically just you're not doing any exercise. However, you're probably watching this video because you're learning how to balance 2 different types of exercise. So you're going to multiply that number by 1.55 if you train once a day on 5 or 6 days a week. And you're going to multiply it by 1.8 instead if you are doing double daily training on at least 5 or 6 days per week. So that is to calculate your maintenance calories. Now we need to adjust this. We need to tweak this value based on your targeted weight loss, weight maintenance, or weight gain. So for fat loss, you're going to minus 300 to 500 calories from this target. And that's going to allow you to lose about 0.3 to 0.5 kilograms per week, which is a slow enough rate that you're still going to be able to perform well in the gym, but you're still going to be losing fat consistently each week. Alternatively, if sports performance is your goal, keep it the same. You just want to meet your energy needs for sports performance. And finally, if muscle gain is your goal, you want to add about 150 to 250 calories to this. That's going to put you in a mild caloric surplus, and it will facilitate steady weight gain, primarily from muscle, and it will keep fat gain to an acceptable minimum. So to bring this to life, let me take you through an example. Let's say you're a 65 kilogram male, training once a day, wanting to lose body fat. So 65 kilograms times 24 is 1,560. That's your basal metabolic rate. Training once a day, you'd multiply this by 1.55, which is 2,418 calories. So that would be this individual's maintenance, or at least a relatively accurate prediction. But this individual doesn't want to maintain their weight. They want to lose body fat. So we're going to take their target, their maintenance intake of 2,418, and we're going to minus, let's say, 400. We've got a slap bang in that middle of 300 to 500. So we'll minus 400 calories, put them in a 400 calorie daily deficit, and therefore their fat loss targets are 2,018 calories. So now you've got your calories, you need to split them into macronutrients, so protein, carbs, and fats. For protein, you want to have 2 to 2.5 grams of protein per kilogram you weigh. For carbs, a broad range of 3 to 7 grams per kilogram. For fat loss, you're going to be closer to that 3 to 5 grams per kilogram range. And for performance or muscle gain, you're going to be more likely in that 5 to 7 grams per kilogram range. And for fat intake, a minimum of 0.5 grams per kilogram, ideally closer to about 1 gram per kilogram. I recommend starting with 1 gram per kilogram of fats and then not going below 0.5 grams per kilogram throughout the course of your diet. So for our 65 kilo example athlete targeting fat loss, their calorie budget was 2,018. We'll set protein at 2 grams per kilogram at 130 grams per day. We'll set fats at 1 gram per kilogram at 65 grams. And then we'll allocate the remainder of those calories to carbs, which comes out at 228 grams of carbs or 3.5 grams per kilogram, which looks about right for a fat loss phase. I'm into the maths of how I calculated that here, but you could probably just use your food logging app to do that, or you could join my Fighting Nutrition course where we've got calculators to do all of this for you. If carbs do need to be increased, then you could pull the fats back a little bit, but this all looks good, so let's leave it as is. Now let's talk about fueling for your combat sports sessions. A great rule of thumb is to aim for somewhere between 50 to 100 grams of carbs in your pre and post workout meals, and also getting a serving of protein in at those meals as well. Not because it's going to benefit performance, but it's just a good opportunity to fulfill some of your daily target, basically. And what about fueling for your weight sessions? Well, these sessions are much less reliant on carbs. 50 to 100 grams of carbs and a serving of protein in the pre and post meals for weight training is still a good rule of thumb, especially if you're aiming for weight maintenance or muscle gain. But you could probably get away with a little fewer carbs, say 25 to 50 grams in your pre and post meals before weight training if you're dieting and you need to be stricter with your budget. Now, what about intra-training carbs? So for combat sports sessions, if they're over 90 minutes and moderate to high intensity, then 30 grams per hour would be a good target. And that will ensure that your energy levels do not drop off in the second half of your training session. But these sports drinks or these intra-training carbs are not needed for your weight training sessions. And should you eat different calories on different days? Basically, it's up to you. Do whatever is easiest to stick to and makes you feel best. I recommend aiming for a weekly average target, and that could be the same daily number, or it could be a bit higher on some days and a bit lower on some other days to still hit that same weekly average. For example, option 1, you could just aim for a consistent daily number across every day of the week. Or another option would be to minus 100 calories on 5 days of the week, say Monday to Friday, and that will give you an extra 500 calorie budget that you could spread across the remaining 2 days of the week. So you could do Saturday and Sunday, an extra 250 calories in those days, for example. And that could be the weekend, or it could just be your hardest training days. Whichever you do is up to you. Basically, just pick whatever you find easiest to stick to. If you are going to eat more or less calories on certain days, then those extra or fewer calories should come primarily from carbs, because it's mostly the difference in your carb needs that differ between training and rest days. So now you've got a bunch of numbers. You've got calorie, protein, carb, and fat targets, but what the hell do you actually do with them? What do you actually eat? So to translate these targets into food, you could use a tool like eatthismuch.com, or you could even use something like ChatGPT for a basic example meal plan. Although, just a note, I wouldn't put a ton of trust in the accuracy of ChatGPT's calories and macros. For example, in the video you can see on your screen, I asked for a 2018 calorie meal plan, and if we add up the numbers of the individual meals, then it comes to 1,728, just about 300 calories shy of what it said the total calories were for the meal plan. But it can be a useful tool for a bit of meal inspiration, or you could just hire a nutritionist whose literal job is to do this for you and guide you through the entire process. jamesnicholnutrition.com/coaching. Anyway, let's talk about how to recover. So sleep is the undisputed king when it comes to recovery.
For me, recovery is sleep.
I'm going to explain to you 7 pieces of sleep guidance that I give to my clients, and these are going to give you the biggest payoff for your effort investment. Number 1 is no phone 30 minutes before bed. If you do only one of these habits, make it this one. It's going to have the biggest impact. Reading is best, but even TV or a podcast is preferable to phone use. 2, dim the lights in the evening and reduce your phone screen to minimal brightness. Most phones will have a blue light filter setting, so use that if your phone has it. Number 3, sleep in a cool, dark, and quiet room. 4, no caffeine at least 6 hours before bed, but ideally more like 8 to 10 hours before bed. Number 5, consistent sleep and wake times. Set a bedtime alarm if you need to. Number 6, aim for at least 7 hours of sleep per night, but that would ideally be more like 8 to 10 hours for athletes or people with a high training volume. And finally, number 7, consider a warm shower before bed. Now, I know we want to be cool when we sleep. We want a cool room and a cool environment. So when you have a warm shower, it slightly increases your core body temperature, but the body's response when you get out of the shower is to bring that core temperature down, which ultimately cools you down and makes it easier to fall asleep and helps to improve sleep quality. And finally, in the recovery section, have at least 1 rest day per week. Don't feel like you need to do the typical stuff that you see on social media, like foam rolling, stretching, sauna, and ice bath on your rest day. Recovery is almost always about doing less, not about doing more. So if your rest day involves just sitting on the sofa and watching Netflix all day, then you're doing exactly what we want, resting, and therefore recovering. Now, these are just a few of the ways that you can balance lifting weights with your combat sports training, be that Muay Thai, MMA, boxing, or BJJ, and how you can use your diet and lifestyle to get the most out of these sessions. If you want to ensure that your nutrition is dialed in to get the most out of your training, then I've created a short quiz for you. It's going to identify your nutrition priority areas, and it'll give you a clear and personalized plan of action to level up your diet and performance based on your answers, and it's totally free. So if you want to stop second guessing yourself and you want to know that your dieting effort is being spent in the right areas, then click the link in the description below and take the quiz and get your free diet report. It's multiple choice as well, so it's really easy. Also, if you enjoyed this video, YouTube recommends that you're going to love this video, so give it a watch if you fancy.